Planning a complex project often feels like assembling a high-end mechanical watch. Every task is a gear, every dependency is a spring. You put them together, and for a brief moment, everything is perfectly synchronized. One project manager experienced this exact feeling after building a flawless 40-task schedule. It had clean dependencies and was resourced down to the week. Presenting it to the team, he finally felt completely in control. But 10 days in, the gears jammed. Take a look at this project timeline graphic, specifically focusing on week 2 breakdown. 3 different stakeholders are looking at the exact same schedule, yet they are describing 3 entirely different projects. One thought they were building a mobile app, another expected a reporting module, and nobody actually knew what was excluded. The problem here is surprising. The estimates were accurate, and the dates were completely reasonable. The failure happened because nobody in that room had actually agreed on the boundary of what they were supposed to be building. This specific illusion of agreement carries a massive industry cost. As we can see in these data points, 58% of schedule rework on complex projects traces straight back to scope ambiguity, not estimation errors. Vague boundaries, not bad math, are killing complex timelines. Think of a project schedule as a visual sequence of promises. It's an agreement on what will be delivered and when. If the work itself isn't specifically defined, those promises are built on a boundary that exists only in your head. You can spot these hollow promises through a few common symptoms. The first is vague deliverables. A phrase like "improve the dashboard" might mean adding a simple PDF export to you, while a stakeholder expects an entirely new interactive AI module. The second symptom is the trap of silence. If nobody explicitly mentions that the mobile app is excluded from the project, it is easy to assume everyone knows it's out of scope. But silence on a boundary does not imply agreement. It plants a landmine of delayed conflict. The third symptom involves hidden assumptions. If you privately assume an external data migration will finish on time to feed your project, but you don't document it as a dependency, you are disguising a massive schedule risk as a quiet hope. If you skip the friction of writing down these boundaries, your pristine Gantt chart isn't a plan, it is an unresolved negotiation. Stopping this collapse requires the ground model. G. Ground every task to a specific line in the scope statement. Lacking a parent line, it belongs in a conversation. Next, R. Reject ambiguous deliverables. Push for specificity until 2 people build the exact same thing. Then comes the O. Outline explicitly what is out of scope. Even if an exclusion feels painfully obvious to you, it must be written down. Obvious to one person rarely means obvious to the room. U stands for using internal assumptions as documented constraints. Instead of holding them privately, you give them a name, and you assign them an actual owner on the project. Finally, the N and D. You negotiate project changes through the scope document first, never through a quiet edit to the timeline. And when pressure hits, you defend the schedule using that signed document to end opinion-based arguments. This 6-step process creates a survival architecture. It forces you to validate every promise before a single line is drawn on the calendar. When you apply this discipline, the entire dynamic of a project shifts. This table outlines the contrast. The old instinct was to open scheduling software early just to get moving. The new reality demands waiting for absolute scope sign-off, even under intense time pressure. Requiring a signed scope statement before scheduling correlates with a 70% drop in scope-related disputes. Aligning on the definition of done before mapping out the dates significantly reduces the constant friction found in undefined projects. And when conflicts do arise, the resolution speed is entirely different. Instead of spending nearly 2 weeks arguing over memory and informal conversations, teams resolve disagreements in just days by pointing directly to the signed document. This shifts the focus to a new priority. The scope statement is the real work of project management. The scheduling tool is secondary to the agreement underneath it. The schedule itself is merely a reflection. It is just what that underlying hard-won agreement looks like when laid out across a calendar. If your timelines keep breaking, despite reasonable dates and accurate estimates, stop staring at your scheduling app. Ask yourself, when was the last time everyone in the room actually agreed, in writing, on what done means?